These days, it feels like there's a new SUV launched every single week, which means choosing your perfect tow car can be a little bit confusing. One of the finest family SUVs over the past decade or so has been the Mazda CX-5, and the Japanese firm has decided to update its second generation car for 2022. Let's take a look around. For 2022, Mazda has given the CX-5 a small facelift. When we say small, we really do mean small. There are a pair of new bumpers, and the headlights now have BMW-esque LED daytime running lights. The bigger news, however, is the addition of new trim levels, including this top-of-the-range GT Sport with its smart body-coloured trim. It might be a small update, but the Mazda is still a handsome-looking SUV. Inside, and it's a really lovely place to be. You sit up quite a lot higher than you do in a lot of other SUVs. There's adjustable lumbar support for the driver's seat as standard, and the steering column has plenty of adjustment, meaning it's very easy to get the perfect driving position. Now, unlike a lot of other SUVs, which have a very fancy design-led dashboard, the Mazda CX-5 dashboard is very logical. It's so logical, in fact, to control the infotainment system, you use this rotary dial down here. The only problem using this, however, is it's not a touchscreen. So when you use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, for example, both of which come as standard, the lack of a touchscreen can frustrate. What won't frustrate is the sense of quality in here. This is by far and away the best built car in the class. The quality of the plastics really do feel good. The switchgear all feels really nice to touch, and there's a strong suite of standard equipment in here as well. The CX-5 is a strict 5-seater. There's no 7-seat version on offer. Having said that, there's plenty of space back here with good amounts of knee room and headroom. You can also easily put your feet underneath the seat in front of you to get a really comfortable seating position. There's lots of nice little touches as well. There's pockets on the backs of the seats. Fold down the armrest. There's 2 cup holders, and where specified, there's heated seat buttons as well. Flip up the little cubby here, and you'll also find 2 USB charging ports. A couple of other things which I really do like back here is the sense of quality found up front is extended back here, and the doors cover the sills, which means they never get dirty. So when you're actually dragging your legs over the sills, your trousers don't get all mucky. The boot is of a good size. It's a bit smaller than cars like the Citroën C5 Aircross and Skoda Kodiaq, but it's wide, and the rear seats fold down in a very handy 40-20-40 configuration. Once they're folded, you get a massive loading area that's also nice and flat. Mazda is quite unique when it comes to engines. While most manufacturers favour small engines with turbochargers, Mazda prefers larger capacity engines which are naturally aspirated. Now, there's a choice of engines available in the CX-5. There's a 2-litre with 163 brake horsepower. There's a 2.5 with 191 brake horsepower, and for diesel there's a 2.2 with 148 brake horsepower or 182 brake horsepower. There's also the choice of manual and automatic gearbox and 2- and 4-wheel drive. Now, we've got the 2.5 petrol here, and it's a good option if you don't want to go for diesel when towing. Now, there's a good amount of heave throughout the rev range, and you can only get it with the automatic gearbox. Now, it's a pretty good gearbox, this, actually. It's very quick to change gear. There's a manual option, so you can slide it across and take full control over the gearbox, and there's also paddles behind the steering wheel. The The diesels do offer more torque, especially low down in the rev range, so try not to dismiss those. My recommendation would be the 182 brake horsepower version. The CX-5 has always been one of the sportier SUVs to drive, and that's thanks to really light and accurate steering, a chassis that is agile, and a firm suspension setup. Honestly, there are very few SUVs that are as fun to drive as the CX-5. Now, the trade-off to having that firm suspension setup is around town at low speeds, and when hitched up to a Caravan, the CX-5 can be a little bit jittery. But for the most part, that firm suspension means you get great body control, and it's never uncomfortable. And even when you're not driving the CX-5 enthusiastically, it settles down to be a very refined and relaxed cruiser.
When it comes to towing, well, apart from a tiny bit of wheel slip on a steep, damp road, an admittedly challenging scenario for any car, the CX-5 tows with aplomb. We hitched up to a Bailey Unicorn 4 Vigo, and the CX-5 felt very relaxed and assured on a mixture of roads, backed up by strong brakes, and that direct steering only added to the feeling of confidence. When hitched, the gearbox settled down too and swapped gears smoothly, while the engine felt it had enough power. On a mixed route, we achieved 19.2 mpg, which for a high-capacity petrol engine is about average, while unhitched, that figure jumped to just over 30 mpg. The only downside is the surprisingly low nose weight limit of 84 kilograms, which looks small compared to cars such as the Honda CR-V and Kia Sportage with their 100 kilogram ratings.
Now, there are plenty of more spacious SUVs you can buy, but very few are built as well as the CX-5 and handle as well as the CX-5. Factor in high equipment levels, and the CX-5 is a very compelling family SUV.